All right, we're back. It's Comp 2007. It's week 7, lesson 7, part 2. While we left off with our little tacos and beer website, and one thing I forgot to do was go into, I'm going to stop debugging for a second, go into Team Explorer, and then I want to kind of go into Home, Changes. We added a pile of changes into this, so that way you guys can follow this example later. And we're going to say, added Bootstrap and master pages. Master page. Commit. Okay, so we got kind of our styling. I want to add in my master page. We kind of left off in my default where my main content is. This is my main content, and if you notice, it's between here and here. This ASP.NET content, right? But this stuff here is any controls I want to add in that are ASP.NET controls. That's what I want to put in here, right? My main content. I can include additional things that are non-ASP, ASPX stuff outside of it if I want. But it's good practice to put everything in here, right? So anything that kind of is inside my main content goes here. And this, whatever's in between these two things here, gets placed into my my default. It kind of smashes those two things together, right? We've got our master page. We've got our content page. It takes the stuff, smashes them together to get our default.aspx. All right, that's what it does. So anything that's in here is where we want. This is where we want our the stuff that we're missing for our carousel. So let's see if we can make the carousel work, because and then we'll go to the other stuff I want to do, which is right here. Right, so I'll get from here, if I've done things correctly, to the bottom of this. This is the bottom of the carousel, and there's some glyph icons that we're going to use, and so on. I think I captured everything. If I missed something, we'll get back to it. So Control C, go over here. I'll make a space. Control V, put it in here. Now we've got some issues automatically, I can tell you. And one of the issues is this data image GIF base 64. That it's trying to get. If you notice, it's got this really long thing here. It's this first slide. So I could leave this in here and see what happens. Let's see what happens when I leave this the way it is right now. I've got a button with a button cloud, like a regular CSS button, and let's run it and see what goes on. Let's see if I get errors. Okay, here's our carousel, right? And it looks like it sits behind our nav, which is kind of neat, right? And here's our privacy policy, and it works nice. So I don't need these other images that I thought I needed, because they're generated. Those images are generated. And of course, I would just replace those generated images with, you know, whatever slides I want. Okay, so we have a pretty good looking carousel. And let me just take this away for a second so we have more room. These are generated GIF images instead of an image that's been thing. That's why it's first slide. I could change this. Instead of this data source is equal to data image, I could change this so it points to an actual image that's inside my Solution Explorer, right? Then depending on how it's going to be formatted right, because my class is first slide, right? And if I look at my classes, if I go to my Solution Explorer, I'll pin this one up. And if I look at my content, and if I go to my carousel, which is where I have my classes for first slides, let's go back to first slide. And to understand what this thing does, here's my featurettes, and my responsive CSS, and everything else, and my media. I'm not going to use all this stuff, but that class first slide is what I want to use, and I can target it if I need to. Right, so right now I don't see anything that's specific to that one, so it's not really being used. One thing I do see when I go back to my defaults here, I've got my default class item active that I'm using, right? And a carousel inner and a list box. Those two things, role is list box, carousel inner. So this is a good example of a carousel. I'm going to leave it alone for us right now. Let's assume we have some food scrolling left and right. It's kind of out of scope for what I wanted to show you today, but I wanted to kind of capture because Lewis said it was important. All right, I wanted to I want to add in some new thing that I didn't talk to you about. I want to add entity framework, right? But my entity framework stuff, I want you to download and install this thing called Webform Scaffolding. All right. Now you can do it two ways. You can download it here outside of Visual Studio, right? Or you can go into Visual Studio with Nuget. Let me show you where that is. If I right-click on my project and I go to, let me stop debugging here. If I right-click my project and I go to Manage Nuget Packages, right? And if I want to look for this, it's called Webforms Scaffolding, right? So I go Webforms like this. If I just put Webforms in there, right? Want to look at that? Here's actually it's actually an installed package. I think I may have it already in there, or is it an extension? Sorry, maybe it's an extension. Let's go to extensions and updates, tools, extensions and updates, and that's where you want to probably look. Let me just make sure that it's there. I do. It's Webform Scaffolding under tools, extensions and updates, and if you want to search for it, if you go Webforms Scaffolding. Right, or just web forms. Then you're going to see web forms comes up with Webform Scaffolding. Mine's installed. You want to enable yours, so that's a simple download. So let's do that. Are you guys with me? Under Tools, so again, the way you'd find it is Tools, right? Extensions and Updates. Okay, and then in there you may have to go online, Cody, on the online side, and you may go web forms like this, web forms, right? And if I look at web forms, then you look at Webform Scaffolding if it's not part of your installation. So under online, there's two. There's installed and online. I'm looking at online, that option. Do you guys see that? Okay, download and install that piece. Let me know when you're done. You doing it too? You're done? Okay, when you're done. So you've got your Webform Scaffolding done. All right, here's where we're going to start the fun. You may have to reboot your Visual Studio, right? When your Visual Studio reboots, you're going to do the following. Let me know when it's done. Are you done, Jean-Claude? Because you're in the process, right? Okay, you still trying to find it? So we're going to go to online. Then Webform Scaffolding. Webforms. No, what two words? There it is. Not that one. You may have to reboot. If you reboot your machine, right? You may have to. Sorry, it's not a reboot of your machine. It's a reboot of Visual Studio, which you're good to go. Jeremy, you just watching, or are you going to try it? Okay, no problem. Everyone does things differently. Okay, are we done? Has everyone installed did everyone get their Webform Scaffolding done? Yes. All right, cool. Next. This is where you're going to love me after. All right? I'm going to right-click. We're going to right-click on our solution now, right? On our project, I mean. Right-click on our project. I'm going to click Add New Scaffolded Item. Do you guys see Add New Scaffolded Item? Let's click that. All right, cool. Now, if you notice, the one thing that I'm missing, it says with Entity Framework. Do I have Entity Framework installed right now? The answer is not. I do not have Entity Framework installed. I need to install Entity Framework, but the way we're going to do that is we're going to see under our models, we have a models folder, yeah? Right, we're going to add in a new model in this models folder. And the way we're going to do that, right, is we're going to add a new item. Okay? I'm going to right click. I'm going to go add, right? And what I want to add is this ADO.NET entity data model. Now, if you don't have that available, you're going to have to go to new item. You're going to have to go to data, right? And then on the top, it's ADO.NET Entity Data Model. And right now it's called Model 1, right? But we want to call it something that makes sense for us, right? Which is probably going to be something like tacos and beer, or something that makes sense for us. Model, right? So tacos and beer model, right? And press add. When you do that, it asks you what you want. It's EF Designer from database. We already have a database. We have to do this first. Click next. This is the database piece. Okay, take a look. Do I have a connection string? The answer is no, right? I got to put new connection. I need to know my connection though. Do I know my connection string? You could, depending on how you set it up. I don't, right? I don't have mine. I know I need to do new connection, and I can't continue right now. And there's a reason for that. If I go new connection, it's asking me for my server name. Do I remember my server name? If I click on, if I kind of load this up, it may or may not remember my server name. And it's taking its sweet time, right? I'm just showing you what it does so that way you're clear on all this, the way it works, right? See how it says VM? That's my computer name. That's not right, right? That's wrong. And I definitely want to use SQL Server authentication, so I got to put in my fully qualified name if you don't know how it works. And mine doesn't capture it. Yours might, mine won't. So I'm going to cancel out of this thing. Okay, cool. I canceled out. Where do I get my server name? Well, I got to go back to Server Explorer. I'm going to pin this up here, right? And if you remember, let's just close this all down for a second. If you remember, I had a server. I wanted to open it up in SQL Server Explorer, right? Here it is. There's my server name right here. Look, it's u1dq blah 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 .database.windows.net. This one, right? If I want to rename it, I could, right? If I go to Properties, it shows me my fully qualified server name right here, and I could grab this thing, right? If I expand my Properties item here like this, way over here. My data source it shows me is right here. And this is the one I want, .database.windows.net, right here. I'm getting it from this right here. This server name is, I already have a connection. I don't want to choose something else that doesn't exist. And I don't want to remember. So I'm going to kind of do copy. So I've got that in my little, my stuff. I've got my Lewis. I've got to make sure it's the same one as my Lewis table, my Lewis database, right? Now let's do the same thing. Let's go to Solution Explorer. I want to go to my project view, and I want to go add new item. I want to go to data, ADO.data entity data model. In here, I want to put my name of my thing, which is tacos and beer model, right? Press add. This time, when I go to EF Designer from database, click next, and now I'm going to click new connection and put in my server name by clicking and saying paste. Now, if you don't know how the format works is, it's the name of your server .database.windows.net, and that server name is going to come from Azure. Okay. Now, I'm not going to use Windows authentication. That makes no sense. I need to use my SQL Server authentication that I originally set up when I created my database on Windows Azure. So I'm going to go and use it for username. I'm going to say my name and my password. Right, I'm going to save my password. And before I click OK, I got to select my database name. So if I've done everything correctly, I should be able to pull up Lewis. Here it is. See how Lewis shows up? That's good. I made my connection. Are you with me? Then you haven't put in your proper server name yet. You got to be able to put in the proper authentication credentials, or else it won't work. Are you with me? Who's not with me? Put up your hand. I'll wait. You're not with me? Okay. Oh, Jackie. Jackie, you good? You're not good. You're good? Jean-Claude?
I'm just trying to remember my login stuff.
Oh.
There's a
Bad
couple
people.
I missed.
All right. Ben, are you good? Do you do this all stuff? Are you with me?
I'm going to have to catch up.
You're going to catch up later? Karan, you're okay now? Lewis, are you good? Steve, are you good? Okay. So we're here. I'm going to press OK. When I get to OK, it creates my connection string. Take a look. Here's my. It's going to say, hey, do you want to remember include it for now? Let's just say yes. And instead of Lewis entities, right? We're going to rename this thing to default connection. Camel case or upper camel case. Default connection. That's our default connection we're going to use. Okay. Are you with me? Next. Click next. Choose Entity Framework 6. Next. Now it's going to, if you get everything that's correct, it's going to bring up your tables in a second. Choose your tables, all your tables. You only have one right now, right? Tables. And if you notice, my model namespace is Lewis model, which is okay. I could change this, but let's leave it the way it is. I like it Lewis model because, hey, it's our database, right? Let's press, and normally you'd have the name of your, like taco and whatever we call it, right? Let's press finish. Once I've done that, it does two things. Once I click finish, it installs a reference for my entity framework. That's what it does. And now we're using the database first approach to create our database connection, right? And our database, right? So once I click finish, if all goes well, it installs entity framework from Nuget automatically, right? It's doing its business now, right? And then we get this single model called menu. Yeah? Are you with me? It does all this. And if you notice, here's our tacos and beer model. We could have put it inside models. We didn't. I just put it in the regular thing. It's fine too, right where it is. Although probably the best practice would be to install it here. Right now I've just left it in the root. That's okay. Okay, cool. So if you look inside there, there's a couple of the model that we're talking about is this thing called menu.cs, right? And menu.cs has been generated, right? Right here. And I've got my name and my description and a price, right? That's what it has right now. This is nice, huh? Nice, nice. Okay, cool. Well, I want to use my scaffolded item now, right? How do I do that? Well, let's go back to that thing I did before. I'm going to right-click on my project. I'm going to go to Add, New Scaffolded Item. Now check this out. New Scaffolded Item. It says Web Forms. I'm going to choose Web Forms, right? And then underneath that, it's going to be Web Forms Pages using Entity Framework. Are you with me? Click Add. And now it says, what's your model class? Well, we know my model class is menu. That's my model class, right? And then my data context class, right, is going to be my default connection that I just created, right? And take a look what it does. It says my default master page, I'm going to use main content as my master page placeholder ID. So I already use my default master right here, right? And then I'm going to click Add. Okay, check out what this does, peoples. You're going to love this. If you love database stuff, it scaffolds it all for you. Now there's a bit of a problem. We got to fix this problem in a second, and we're gonna get over that in a second. All right, it gives me all this extra stuff. It gives me a couple things here. One of them is it gives me a new section, right? If you notice, called menus. Here's my menu section, right? I've got a default page for menus. I've got an edit page for menus. I've got an insert page for menus. I got all this extra work. Now, ain't gonna work. But we want to go to my default Aspx page for my menu when I click on my menu link. That means I got to go back to my default master. Here's my default master. And in my navigation scheme, which I'm just going to minimize this for a second, in my navigation bar, where it says menu, I want to point to this default Aspx menu. How do I point to that from here? It's going to go inside menus and inside default Aspx. I could just go in and put in menus. But if I was to do this right, if I drag and drop this thing in here, what does it do? It says could not reformat document due to line 44. The original format was restored. Right? Well, this is one thing it did do. It went like this. It put in my menus default Aspx as my path, right? That's my path. I'm going to tell you that that's probably not necessary, that if I just put in menus by itself, like this, right, just menus, put that in the path, and then change this back to where it was. This is incorrect. I just changed all this to try and match it to menu. Actually, let's undo that. Sorry, let's undo that change, guys. Sorry. I'm going to mess you up. I meant, in here, put in menu. If I go /menu, right, and menu, we're going to see what happens, okay? So let's try that out. Menus, sorry, menus. If I press, let's run it. If I run this thing now, it said there's build errors. This is normal, all right? It's normal for build errors. Let's say what the build errors are. It says ASP.NET does not know what this, what you're missing. You're missing this. You're missing an assembly reference, and we are, because if I look inside the file for my default and delete and all this kind of stuff, let's take a look. If I look at this stuff, it's pointing down to, if I look where the file is, it says the namespace ASP.NET does not know the name, the assembly reference we're looking for. Well, what's my assembly reference? Let's not tabify this thing. What is it talking about? Where's my error? Right? What we need to do is we need to add in something called friendly URLs in order for this thing to work. Just go into my default page for a second. Because that's where this thing is breaking down. Like if I was going to run this from here, so if I just go run in Chrome, as an example, it says, no, what's the build error, right? You are missing an assembly reference for, it doesn't understand ASP.NET, right? Well, there's a couple of problems here, right? But the main one is this friendly URLs thing that we're missing. It doesn't understand what friendly URLs is. That's what the assembly reference is, right? So that's the first thing we have to fix. Let's go into we're going to go here, sorry, and we're going to go to Manage Nuget Packages. I believe it's here, online. And if I type friendly URLs, press Enter and let it go, right? Let's see if it comes up. Give it a second. It does. And see how it says Microsoft ASP.NET friendly URLs? I need this piece for it to work. Let's click install. And I say I accept. Install those things, and now there's a couple of changes we need to make, right, for this to work properly, right? It tells you there's a README file that pops up, right? So it's a bit of a hack. It says setup. You need to put this in your global ASX file, right? This using statement, right? So let's put that in. So I'm going to Control C using system.web.web routing. I'm going to go to my global ASAX file, right? I'm going to put that in under here. See? System.web.routing. I need to put that in there. That's one piece. And the next piece is this piece here, this root config register roots. I need to put this in my global ASX files here as well, in my application start. And save that as well. Are you with me? So I got that in my README. In my README file, it says go to my global ASAX file. This is where I got it from. I didn't make it up, right? Go there, it says, and when you go there, grab this using statement, using system.web.routing, and drop it into the global ASAX file, which is just right here. I put it right here. And the next one I did is I got this route config register roots, the route table, and I put that in here as well, inside my application start method. Are you guys with me now? Does everyone know? Jackie, you're shaking your head. ASAX file? If you did everything I did, you should, right? 'Cause I didn't do anything different. If you don't have it, you chose the wrong project type. But you can create it, yes.
I don't have the friendly one.
Friendly URLs?
Yeah, I got
You got to go into right click. Again, it's the same. If I have it, if I go to Nuget, you can go to Nuget. Who has it? Who made it work? Who's got theirs? So you guys got it. You got to go into the Nuget package manager like this. Watch. Right click on your project. Go to Nuget. Manage Nuget packages. You got to go to online, right? And then what you do is you search for friendly URLs. And when you do that, if all goes well, you should see this Microsoft.ASP.NET friendly URLs, right? It's created by Microsoft. Okay, you got it?
I didn't put the S.
Okay, there we go. And then you install it. Okay, now once you're done, once we're done, we should be able to compile now. Let's try this out. So we're going to build. Let's try building the solution, right? And if all goes well, my build succeeded. This is good. There's no more errors, right? And we're going to run it in Chrome. All right, let's see if this works. Okay, I should be able, what if I choose menu? Let's see what happens. Well, it gives me menus, right? So, hey, this is good. This is good. There are no entries from the menus. Now we got a bit of a problem because we have a bit of styling that we have to do for our menus, our default page, right? We have this page, but this page here needs to be pushed down a little bit, right? But let's say if you can actually click on this, the reason why this is the way it is because we got a bit of a space on the top of our menu, right? So, and you can't see where it is right now. See this right here? Take a look at what I got. I got this create new. Do you guys see create new? You can't, now does yours look like mine? Like all hidden like this? Because we need to add some styling in here or push this down a little bit because it's a little bit too high, right? So if I was to go back into my document and I want to look at this view, I'm going to press stop. I'm going to go to my default Aspx. Now there's another default file. You're going to say, hey Tom, how come I got another default file? This default file has nothing to do with our default. This default is only for our menus section, right? And you can scaffold out, this is where we're getting closer to MVC, right? Model, view, and controller, right? Now we're looking at a view, a web page that only applies to our menu, all right? Okay, cool. So here's my default ASPX file. This is what it looks like. And if you notice, my menu list is what it's going to be. That's the title of my document. It says menus list, right? And what we need in here, right, is we need to push this stuff down a little bit. So again, a couple things I could do for this list view to happen is I could create a container, right, like a div tag that I call menu list and give me a little bit of, on the top, I can give myself a little bit of margin top, which is what I need. I need about 30 pixels for my margin top or something like that, right, to push it down. Or I could change my default master page. Here's my master page, right? Here's my default master. And if you notice, it says navbar static top. I could take this away. Let's try and take this away for a second in my default master page. And then we're going to go back here and refresh and see what I get. And I get nothing because I stopped debugging. Let's try debugging again. Okay, cool. And let's go to menu. That's still not right. Let's go back to my default master pages. Did I save it? Something is making it so that my menu is, because remember, our menu is going to sit there because of the way we've set up our bootstrap, right? And if I'm wrong, it's happening because we've got a bit of styling that's pushing our menu down, and it could be from our carousel CSS. So let's take a look at our carousel CSS to see if that's where it is. Right? So I'm going to go back to our style, our content. I'm going to go to carousel CSS really quickly, and it says padding bottom 40, our color, and here's our navbar wrapper. Our position is absolute, and this is where we kind of had we've got some custom styling in here for our navbar, right? Our top is 0, our right, and so on. That's where it's starting off. And then it's pushing down our navbar our navbar wrapper is pushing it down 15 pixels to the right and so on, and all this kind of stuff. And our carousel has a fixed length and all that kind of stuff. And that's why this is happening, because this is part of our global styles, right? So then, carousel CSS is nice. I like it, right? But it's great for our first position, but not for everything else. We need to add in our custom styling in our main.css something that pushes everything down. Now it's going to push everything down, including the stuff that we're doing. So if I say I want to target only our on the menu, I want to kind of put together a menu wrapper, like something like this, a class that's menu wrapper. So anything that's in our menus are pushed down, right? So let's go into main.css, and we're going to make a class called menu wrapper, right? And again, there's different ways. If we follow the CSS way, just to the carousel, we're going to use a dash, all right, as our convention. We don't have to. We can call it whatever we want. But we're going to make a menu wrapper. And for our menu wrapper, what we want to have is we want to have a margin or a padding top. Actually, is what we want, padding top. And we're going to add like 30 pixels. We could add M's and so on too if we want to keep responsive. For now, let's add like 30 pixels from the top. Okay, let's see what that does. Okay, so that's cool. Let us go back to our, we only want to add, by the way, this padding, main.css, our menu wrapper, right, for our menu. So let's go back to our default. And here's where our menus are, or menu list, right? And what I want to do here is I want to put a div tag. I want to modify this so I can see it. So I'm going to say kind of a div tag for a wrapper with a class of menu-wrapper, right? I'm going to take this last div tag, which has this class, menu wrapper, and kind of put it in here. Right, so I know what it is. I'm going to take this div tag and put it at the bottom all the way to surround everything else we got going on here, right? Now we got to be very careful because it's got to be up where it says content. It's going to be below or just above the content tag. So I got it here, and I got it all the way to the bottom, right? Okay, cool. Let's see if that did it. So I'm going to go back to my my page and refresh, and that did crapola and a half, right? I want to push this content down by create new because I can't see it because this is pushed down because of the way we've done it, right? It's just CSS that's causing this problem, nothing else.
Sorry, 50 pixels. That worked.
Did it? $50 because it's Lewis' site. So, okay, 50 pixels. And you did padding top as well, like this?
No, I did margin top.
Margin top. Okay, we'll use that too. And let's try that out. Haha.
There's one of the pages that gives me the photo something.
Don't worry, we'll get back to that in a second. That didn't work for me, Lewis. Huh? Lewis, it didn't work for me, Lewis. We need more. We need to be pushed. This is okay. We need to be pushed down more. So let's go to this, and let's go to like say 100 pixels. Now we may not want to do 100 pixels. We may want to do something else later on. For now, I just want to make sure that this works for you guys. We're using a weird thing because we're using that carousel thing. It's messing us up. Otherwise, we wouldn't get this issue. That's okay. I like the challenge. Let's just refresh. Here's our menus list. Okay, cool. Menus list. Are you with me? Let's create new. If all works well, you got this thing. Oh man, I got my ID, my name, and my description, right? Did I have a problem when I made my model? Do you guys remember this? I had a problem. When I went to my model, right? I went to my model itself, and when I created my model, did I create it so that it auto increments? Remember I did that last time? I didn't do that this time. I got to update my model, and I got to do all this stuff again. Okay? Bear with me, because otherwise I need to put in my ID every single time, which is a pain in the arse, right? I don't want that. So let's go back. That was a mistake. That's something that we forgot to do. And that's something that Lewis should have caught. It's all Lewis' fault, right? I got to blame somebody. No, I got to blame me, because I should have told you guys. So let's stop debugging. I'm going to go back out to my Server Explorer, right? Actually, I want to go to my SQL Server Explorer. And if you look at DBO menu, right, DBO menu, I want to go there for a second. So I want to design my data, right? Because I want to kind of double click in there. Okay, here's my design. Give me a second while it loads. One day it will, maybe not. I got to change my model because my model's wrong, right? My model says that when I have a menu, like I have this table, is yours updated by now? Maybe yours is updating. I have to go in there and change my model so that it allows me to automatically update. Come on. See, that's what it says here? It's actually updated here. I just don't have it up here. Do you guys have it up here yet? Or is yours updating as well? Is yours updating?
No, I got it.
Is it? Are you like me, or is it? Do you have the same problem?
Well, I think it's taking so long.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I'm just going to zap out of there for a second and just close all these pages for 1 sec. We're going to have to generate that again. But that's cool. We're close. We're very close. There we go. All right. So if you notice up here, right, if I click onto this thing, right, remember what I said to you guys before. If I go to properties for this thing and see allow nulls is cool. But what I want to do is see where it says identity specification is false. And I recommend that you change this to true. You go in there and change this to true is identity. You got to do that because if you don't make it identity, then what ends up happening is that it actually makes you put it in. Right? So I've got to update my model. Here's my update. Right? That's going to prepare my script for me. I'm going to update my database directly. And if all goes well, my update's complete. Okay, so my update's complete. I have to update my model, however, right? And where do I get that information, right? Because I created my ADO.NET model, right? If I go to my this is where it's a little bit funky, right? So I didn't do it in the right order. So down here where it says tacos and beer EDMX now, right? If I double click and see how my ID, if I actually click on my ID there, I got to modify it here, right? Because that's where the change takes place. See how it looks like this little key value there? If I go to properties, right? And see how entity key is true, right? It's all been updated already. It knows because I've got a connection. Default value is none, right? Entity key is true. Getter, public, name, ID, nullable is false. Now, if I'm not wrong, now that we have this ID here, right, it's generated a view, so it should automatically generate everything for me. Now, what I should probably do, because I updated my model, is I need to generate these pages again. So one thing I know is if I need to generate my menus again, this is all going to be generated. One thing I want to capture from my default, which I changed already, is I want to capture, I don't want to do this again. right? I don't want to make it so that my menu wrapper, this menu wrapper here, I don't want to type this thing in. So I'm going to copy it for a second. Okay, cool. Now I'm going to close it down and this down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on here again, right? And I'm going to go to add new scaffolded item. Let's try it again, one more time. I'm going to choose web forms pages using entity framework. Press add. And my model class, I'm going to choose the same one. And I'm going to choose the same connection string. But this time I'm going to choose overwrite existing pages. If I choose overwrite existing pages, it'll overwrite everything we just had with my new pages. See, overwrite existing pages, press add. It'll do its scaffolding. It'll check to see if there's any changes, and it'll rewrite everything I just made, all those other pages there, but it'll also take away my changes. I got to put them back. Right? It won't take away my CSS rules. That's good, right? But will take away my changes to my default Aspx. See, if you notice, it's gone now. I got to add that data wrapper back in. And of course, I need to add this data wrapper div tag at the end, near the bottom, in order for me to have that space at the top. So I just add another closing div tag, and with I'm going to put a little comment that it's for this thing. Okay, cool. Let's run it. I'm going to go back to my default page, right? And I'm going to run this thing. And let's see what I got. I got my carousel coming up. I'm going to clean up this in a second too. And when I click my menu, it goes to menus. Should work now. If not, then it's my mistake. The way, yeah, see, my ID still there. That's bad. Let's see if I don't need to put it in there though. If I put my menu name is, let's say, a taco special, right? My description is enjoy. You tell me, Lewis. What's a taco special? Enjoy a hard shell taco, right? Hard shell taco with a souvlaki filling. Right? Price. Lewis, tell me the price.
$1.
Oh, you're too cheap, man. We're gonna make it $2.99. Right? I press insert. If this works, I won't get an error here. If it doesn't, I haven't had a chance to update my feed. It didn't work. So it's because of my model. My model didn't get updated. So right now we're just gonna make it an ID of 1 and press insert. That'll work. And of course, my DB save changes doesn't work because I haven't updated my my insert page. The reason why it gives me this issue is because it's expecting it to automatically update. She'd be bad, man. She'd be bad. This is my mistake, guys. This is all my mistake. All right, so how do I fix this? Well, let's try and get some default data here to show you that this all works. It's my fault completely because I made the model the way it was and everything else. I'm going to add I'm going to add some data. I'm going to go to view data, right? In my in this thing here, it's going to show me that there's a bunch of nulls. And let's test some data out. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to say my name is taco special. My description is enjoy a hard shell taco. Sure, hard shell taco with a chicken souvlaki. Filling. There you go. $2.99. And I go to the next one. It worked for me here. So online, our data model is working, but because we changed our model, I think we have to update our data model. I have to do that first, and that's totally cool. I think I got to do an update. All right, let's run this thing now. I'm just curious to see what it looks like when I updated it. This is what I really wanted to show you. If I click menus, menu, right? I've got my taco special. This is what it should look like. Look.
Nice.
So if I go to edit, right? And my description isn't complete because of my margins, the way I've set this page up. you can use, it's bootstrappy, right? So I can go in here and change my bootstrap functionality to change what it's going to do. So if I go edit, so instead of my taco special, right, and with this stuff, my description is kind of short, I can change this to chicken souvlaki filling. Let's say it's instead of a hard shell taco, we'll make it a soft shell. Soft shell. I don't know if there's such a thing. And my price, see how it's automatically $3 as opposed to $2.99? That's kind of messed up too. I got to fix that. Let's see if I can do an update. Soft shell. So it did the update. So it's persisting. This is a good thing. Okay, so that's good. That's my menu. One thing I'm missing is, what if I want to do an ad? I don't know how to do an ad. I can do create new, but this is where I had the problem last time, because it's expecting me to put it in, right? It won't allow me to go on because I got this ID here, right? So to fix this, because it kind of expects me to put an ID, there's a couple fixes that I can recommend. It's my issue. This is my fault. Now, it shouldn't work like this at all. If you did these steps and actually put in that identity, it won't have this problem at all. It won't even come up, right? So if I go to my insert Aspx file, this is my insert page, right? This is all good because it'll insert this item, right? If my model state is valid, it'll insert it and it'll save changes. It'll just do a DB add, right? But it's trying to insert something and I don't need it, right? I don't need that extra piece. So of course, where does this exist? If I go onto my menus and if I go into, here's my delete, my details, my edit, here's my insert Aspx page, right? In my insert page, it's going to ask me for all this stuff to come in, right? And one of the things it's going to ask me for is for my ID. Well, I don't want to add my ID. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to comment it out. So it's just to keep it in, just in case I have to change it. So how do I comment it out? It's HTML, right? So I'm going to go like this, right? For now, I'm going to comment this little line out. Right, so I've commented out. I insert my name and everything else, but not my ID. I don't need that. That was just generated because how it detects it in the model. Okay, let's refresh. If everything goes well, let's kill some of this stuff too while we're waiting. I don't have my ID anymore, right? Because I killed it. Let's add in my new item. So I'm going to add in, so how about just regular chicken souvlaki dinner? Souvlaki dinner, right? And it's just saying, I don't understand souvlaki, right? So let's just add in so it doesn't bother me anymore. Souvlaki is a name, man. Chicken souvlaki dinner. A beautifully arranged plate of tender chicken souvlaki. I know. Okay, I'll fix that. Includes salad, Greek salad, rice, parboiled rice, and potatoes, and roasted potatoes. Okay, there we go. That's a real definition. We're going to get that out of this in a second, this description. Remember, this is just this input that we're using. We can change it to an area input as opposed to the way it looks right now. This is going to be $8.99, right? $8.99. And click insert. Now see the ID field, it says is required because of our model, right? Our model isn't auto-updating, and that's what the problem is. And this is why we're having this issue. So it's not because this thing doesn't work. It's because I had to change my model on the back end, and it's not updating on this end. And that's why this is my ID field is required. Even though I don't inject it, it's asking for it. And I'm wondering if I can change my model or update my model here. I'm going to have to ask Rich about that because he's better with Entity Framework than me. So let's just add that in through my my DBO menu. I'll add it in as a second item, right? And I'll do a delete as well. We'll do a delete. So here's our taco special, whatever, right? And we'll kind of add this information in. So here's my chicken souvlaki dinner. I want to add that in. So just so I show you what it looks like to do another one. It's a list of items, right? Now, of course, we would have like, this is a menu list. And I believe our price here is $7.99, $8.99. There you go. It's my fault, guys. Okay, $8.99. And it rounds it up to 9. How come? Yeah.
If you change the price field, then instead of 0 after the column you added 2, it'll add 2 decimal places.
Where? Here?
No, you need to go change the whole.
But this is the model, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta go change it in my model is wrong. Again, it's not your fault. It's my fault. The way I set it up, right? Okay, cool. Now it's done. If I go back to my site here and I go back to menu, right? I have my menu and it shows both my taco special and my chicken souvlaki dinner, right? Because it connects to my thing. Now, if I go delete, I want to get rid of my chicken souvlaki dinner or my, let's say I want to get rid of my taco special, my first one. If I click delete, right? It asks me if I want to delete. I say yes, delete it. It's gone, right? And then it does show me my ID. The reason why it's showing my ID here is because, again, of the way I did it. It shouldn't show my ID. Although you could certainly hide it by not showing that field altogether, right? If I want to go in details, if I click details, it'll take me to my detail view and tell me a description of everything. And this is where I would set up my my document to have my picture and blah, blah. Maybe what I want, I can modify my field here to have, if I go back, I can have a little picture of the menu, of my menu item and so on. So I got full CRUD, right, with my little scaffold. That's what I want to show you. This whole thing is about, hey man, you know what? This isn't a database course. I just want to have a scaffold out my data, right? As soon as I make my model, I use my entity framework. Once I have my model and entity framework, I have now a whole section, menus, right? So imagine if I was going to do that for students, hint, 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 exam next week, right? If I have students and classes, right? And if I want to somehow, with students and classes, create a scaffold for CRUD. If I want to add students, I want to add classes. How do we do it? I'm going to get you guys to use this scaffold, right? So if you don't have this scaffold in place, right, it's a quick way to do it. I think it's a good solution for ASP.NET, right? And for a quick and dirty solution, if you want to see it one more time, because I've only shown it to you once, I'll do it one more time and create a default without all that extra stuff we did in the beginning, right? And I'll do that in the next movie. I'll pause really quickly and I'll do it in like 10 minutes. All right?